Hi, my name is Josh Aaron. I'm Chief Marketing Officer here at TrueLoyal, and I'm very excited to be joined by Jacek Materna, who is our Chief Executive Officer here at TrueLoyal. And let's get right into it. Jacek, I'd love to hear a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey Josh, thanks for having me. So I think my story kind of starts in Poland. Was born there in the '80s. Moved to Canada. I grew up in Shopify land, which is Ottawa, Canada. Sort of they called it Silicon Valley North. That's where the roots of the Canadian tech industry were. Right out of college, started a software business. We ran that nicely for a couple of years, and then I moved over to San Antonio actually to help build out a competitive business at a competitor. Sold the company in Canada, and so I've been in San Antonio since 2009. Great little town. At the time, ScaleWorks, which is the owner of TrueLoyal, was not there yet. We started in 2015. So I joined as that fund was starting. We bought our first company. So as part of that first company, that company had a successful exit. And then I went off and did a couple of other things and came right back here. So now I'm CEO of TrueLoyal. Very exciting business. It's the second CEO position for me. And I think the timing is super right. I mean, I think loyalty post COVID, now's the time. And I think one of the reasons for that is that the world is moving more and more to customer experiences. We're sort of going back to the world of atoms. It's not just digital. And so customer experience is really what it's all about. And that's, online, offline. And I think loyalty, again, is confused a lot with like software platforms. And I always use this thing when I talk to people about like what does TrueLoyal do, and I just tell them like, look, we're a software business, but loyalty isn't software. If loyalty was software, everyone would have it installed by now, but they don't. Reality is most companies struggle with this problem, and so I think the demand is just like growing exponentially. And so like that's why we're here. Like I said, I'm excited, and I think we're just getting started.
Yeah, I think that's great. Let's dive just a little bit deeper into TrueLoyal. So, it's easy to talk loyalty, right? And I think it's something that, yes, it's a topic that is discussed a lot, but I'm kind of curious to get your perspective on like, what do we really offer at TrueLoyal? Like, what does that mean to us?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I think the way I would answer it here is we're a software company, right? So we offer multiple products, multiple services. We have small, medium, large customers. Um, we have customers all over the planet, and I think for us, it's really we provide sort of an engine to help with business outcomes. And one of the largest things that people are looking for, brands are looking for these days, is business outcomes, right? They want more customers. They want their customers to come back. They don't want to bribe their customers. They want to earn uh, loyalty, right? They want to earn preference, as a word. I think the word preference is really important, and usually that takes time. It's not like a single point of purchase. It's not one discrete transaction. It's not just online. It's not just offline. So it's this whole kind of ecosystem of creating seamless customer experiences. And so I would say TrueLoyal, we're sort of building an engine, and we're able to deliver all types of shapes and sizes to help a business achieve business outcomes. And I think the key is probably when you think around something that you can measure. So I think the biggest struggle for the loyalty industry today, and I was running a marketing attribution business 2 years ago, and it was the exact same problem in a different way. You had sort of this landscape of sort of soft and fuzzy uh, metrics, KPIs. And so business leaders were struggling, particularly marketers, to sort of demonstrate value. So you say someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, is your loyalty program working?" Yeah, we think so. I think it's doing something. Yeah, we have it. It's online. We've got some programs. I think it's doing a great job. I just don't think that's good enough. Because I think what's happened also in the market is that the market hasn't become more complicated. Like the consumer has not become more complicated. Consumers' expectations have risen dramatically. Like friction is an allergy. So if you have if you have friction in your customer experience, it's a disaster. And so and that bar is getting raised higher and higher. So the thing I love about the consumer space or the consumer is that they're like unrelentless. Their demands are uncapped. We're all consumers, right? And I think that's what's so special about TrueLoyal is because our customers are really our brand's customers. Because what happens is if those customers, really the consumers, are super successful, the brand's going to be successful and ultimately will be successful, right? So I think it's, like I said, a really exciting time. It's a really exciting space. And I think we've got a really interesting point of view on it because, again, most think of loyalty as a feature or tool. Some say it's an outcome. And again, it's about earning the loyalty. I think the word earn is very important. I kind of call it, earning preference because everyone has choices. You're a motorcycle guy, right? So you've got
Yeah.
your preference on brands. Same with me. But it takes years to build that. And usually you're not even thinking about it as a consumer, right? And so those brands have done a great job as slowly just steering you, just like one event at a time.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a purchase that was like super seamless. So it's like, oh, that's good. Maybe there was a return. You bought some product. It just incrementally nudged you in that direction. I think another example was like Amazon Prime. They have a paid member program. They don't even talk about loyalty. They if you talk to them internally, they don't think of it as a loyalty program. They've made it the customer experience so smooth that you can purchase anything, you can return anything. You actually pay for this service. And then once you pay, everyone thinks everything else is free. Well, it's not free. I mean, you paid for it, but it's perceived value, right? And so they've done a great job at making great customer experience, and it's kind of like in the background because loyalty is sort of in the background. And again, like I said, it's just a really exciting time because I think we have the legs of our stool, which are, you need to engage your customers. You need to bring the customers together. Community, right? Whether it's events, whether it's online stuff, whether it's reviews. And then ultimately, if you can make some of your customers advocates, talk about the network effect. There's nothing better than having your customers sell your product for you. And I think that's really the ultimate benchmark is has your program using our engine delivered a business outcome? And I would argue that when you have a lot of advocates, those things become very obvious and very high because you have a sales force of consumers propagating your message, your brand, and it starts to spread, right? And that's how the biggest brands become the biggest brands and they stick around, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Um, you mentioned experience, in there, and I think the one way I always try to think about it is, the best experiences are the ones that you don't even notice.
Yeah.
Right. I think far too many times, like things get really overcomplicated and it's almost like you're trying too hard at times. Right. It's like you think you have to do this and you think you have to do that. But it really comes down to like seamless experiences, like where you don't even notice it. Right. It's just like it just happens.
It's in the background.
Exactly. And I think that is such a strong and powerful place to be for any brand, ultimately for their consumers. Um, so my next question
I
for
would agree.
you
Yeah.
so my next question for you is to kind of dive just a little bit deeper into that because look, it's not about doing something right or wrong. Right? It's easy to say like what is this company doing wrong? What is that company doing wrong? I don't think it's about that. I think it's, you know, if you were to be in front of, a customer, a client, and you were going to have the conversation with them, it's just like, hey, where's that biggest opportunity? Like, where are some companies maybe falling a little short? They're leaving a little something else out there when it comes to like their biggest opportunities when it comes to their approach to loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a short version and probably like a really long version.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think what's interesting about the space and loyalty in general, because I think it's been sort of marketed in different ways and it's gone through its sort of evolution. But I think there is a massive demand in a highly competitive market, which which again, on the consumer side, there's millions of options. So people have a lot of choices these days. Distribution mechanisms are digital, apps. There's an infinite amount of choice, and so I think it's hard to be a business, a brand, right? You need to be. I would say that the benchmark for which brands are really successful because they have good customer experience has become so high that loyalty, right? Like the loyalty programs have become one of the ways that companies are trying to use that engine to sort of survive in this universe, right? But again, I think a lot of them are thinking of it still tactically. Like, let's train our customers to get addicted to discounts. It's not really going to be a long-term successful plan. I think the most successful plan will be like we need to obviously empower and engage our current customers, make them be so excited about the products and services that we have that they're going to sell it to their friends and family, and you're going to have a network effect. So I sort of use this analogy of, do we have an engine? And I think we do, that helps businesses create network effect revenue models, right? So the economics then become so successful because you have each customer without having to do anything. They just have had great experiences. They've gotten all the value that you want them to get. And now they're doing something extra, really for free. So, I mean, I don't think there's a better model. And those businesses, which everybody wants, there's some of them out there, everyone's trying to figure out how they could be that. And I think, like I said, the mistake that most businesses make, I think, is just taking that rewards, again, airline points, right? It's a look, airline industry makes incredible amount of money off their loyalty points programs. And they should, because of just the scale and size of it. But most companies just sort of think that of loyalty as that. It's kind of a one-dimensional view, and they're sort of ignoring all of the pieces around, like, how do you keep your audience engaged over years, right? It's not just accumulating points and having redemption of points for some kind of rewards, right? And so I think, again, just thinking strategically about it is probably what separates the losers from the winners. But at the end of the day, it should be tech enabled, right? So we offer a lot of technology, but we also offer some expertise. And we let customers choose, right? Some have like a big team on their side. We say, great, here's some technology. Some want a little bit more help. Um, but again, it's an evolving landscape, because I think the other thing that's happening also in the industry is, with the emergence of sort of, I would say, AI coming into the mix, there's a lot of like buzzwords around it. But I think the landscape is shifting because the again, the expectation from consumers is unrelentlessly going up and up and up. And what's happening is that, people now expect much more than they did before. So, quality of the products that they get from vendors, right? The way they get those from vendors, how easy it is to get them, how easy it is to return, how easy it is to share with your friends that, like, this is a great thing. So again, I think just the quality bar is raising, and I think you need something. I mean, we think we have it to sort of navigate this evolving business and technology landscape, right? And so again, but for us, like, it starts with, again, we've got engagement piece, we've got a community piece, which I think those two are hand in hand. And then if you can translate that into advocates, you've got, to me, the best model, which is you've got salespeople out there helping you sell your products to more people for free. And it's not like you're bribing them again. You've earned it. That's a very important word, is kind of earning that piece. And I think as a brand, that's probably feels really good. If you've got earned, it's like in the marketing world, right? It's a kind of this earned media,
Hmm.
right? It's like
Yeah.
it's not paid. I mean, you earned your spot, right? And so to me, that there's an emotional connection where I think Those brands, I mean, they're the most successful brands. We have some of them. Um, they should be celebrating, right? Because they've sort of not tricked or bribed consumers with discounts and all these sort of tactical things, right? So again, really interesting space, but it is going through a lot of evolution. And I think the big one is just post-COVID, events are back, in person's back. We're sort of back 2019, right? Business as usual. And sort of e-com is interesting, big piece. Like I said, Shopify is still the leader, but um, but it's not the only place, right? I think 2022, wherever you remember you were, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I was in Portland. I was taking flights from Portland to New York every week. We had an office out there at a different company. I was probably the only one on the plane, but everyone else was at home, right? It was like the
Yeah.
world is digital. It's going only e-com. That's why all the stocks exploded in that space. And I think we've sort of rationalized all that now. We're looking back, and but again, we have some of that digital that's been brought with us. And I think so. You got to kind of have like all the pieces in place um, to be successful as a company, right?
Yeah. One thing that you said was, thinking about it beyond just like a one-dimensional type perspective. And I think that's so important too, right? Because there's so many industries out there that is like, yes, of course you're going to have some kind of a loyalty program, right? Like it makes all the sense in the world. And I think that there's a whole lot of other companies and industries where it may not necessarily be like an immediate thought
Mm,
about it, right? Like, so before I came on board here, I was on the other side of the fence, leading the charge from the direct to consumer standpoint, so I was in the guitar world, I was in the motorcycle world, et cetera. And it would be really easy to say, well, why would they need to even think about something like this? Like,
yeah,
how many motorcycles are you going to buy? How many guitars are you going to buy? And again, it goes so far beyond that, right? I mean, I think one, it's yes, of course you want to get those sales. Of course, you want your consumers to purchase those items. But then it's like, how do you keep them playing? How do you keep them riding the motorcycle? And it's things like when it comes to guitars, it's like, hey, strings, you have the capos, you have the other elements that enable you to keep playing and to bettering your experience with that. And I think, same thing with motorcycles. Like, well, you might not get, a new motorcycle every 6 months, even though we would love to,
yeah, that'd be nice.
clearly.
Yeah,
But it's the helmets, it's the jackets, it's the
yeah,
merch, right? So it's all of these things. And I think the thing that I love about this space right now is companies are really starting to understand that now,
yeah,
and I think that's what's really, really exciting is like, it's not just about that purchase per se. It really does come down to the experiences, whether it's, you know, yes, it's that next purchase, but it continues to be like, what are the experiences that you can continually have and to kind of get closer and closer with them, which I think is really, really exciting.
yeah. No, no. Like I said, I think post COVID, which is sort of that line in the sand, 24, there was a shift. Just like there was a shift, I would argue before. And like I said, that's why it's a perfect time. Excited to be the new CEO of TrueLoyal, and I think we've got a lot of plans ahead over the next few years, which I'm excited to talk about
Yeah.
as we go.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to ask you there's some questions that I ask everyone, right? So, you can call them rapid fire questions, but I
Yeah,
just love the consistency with, kind of asking the same question to everyone and
yeah.
just kind of getting their perspective on it. So, this is kind of like a fill in the blank rapid fire, but, loyalty is earned when.
So I think loyalty is earned when the company sees its brand and its products being sold by its customer.
Yeah.
And so I use the analogy again, going back to motorcycles, so we can have a whole podcast on it.
Yes, we could.
Of course, we can. It's, the best companies in that space, they know that their main salespeople are not the people at the dealerships. It's not the people on the commercials. It's not the riders on the performance sports teams. It's the owners that they go wherever they're going to go and they promote it. And I think, if there's a way to sort of benchmark that or quantify it, I think the more of those you have, the more you've earned loyalty.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So the next question I have for you is, okay, the future of loyalty um, is owned by customers that or brands that
Yeah, so the future of loyalty, there's a couple of ways this could go, right? But I would say the future of loyalty is owned by companies or brands that I think understand that it's not about chasing engagement metrics. I think it's about transforming their business and using an engine that, again, loyalty is that engine. And it's really around focusing on business outcomes, right? So loyalty being really an outcome. And again, there's different ways to look at it. There's financial, there's non-financial, but I think the companies that understand it's not a piece of software. It's really a business transformation.
yeah,
Um, and I think that that's more and more that, like you were mentioning, being perceived now in the market as like, wow, we need to change the way we're doing business. I think consumers are much more clever in spotting really bad customer experience. Their tolerance level has gone down almost to zero. And it's like a zero tolerance, shitty UX, CX, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
world. And so, what are you doing about it? And so, I think, like I said, it's an interesting time, but you need to bring technology or like a technology partner, and obviously connect all the pieces. But you got to make that business insight that it's a transformation. You can't just install it and it's gonna work. It's actually gonna transform your business. And the companies I see that are struggling, uh, some customers that I've seen struggling, I think it's very much so because they've not thought about how they transform their business.
yeah,
It's a business transformation,
yeah.
which actually is to me a very exciting space, as sort of a business geek. So
And I think it's the perfect way to look at it, right? Business transformation. I don't know if there's a better way to say it because it really is that mindset. And I think having that mindset is where you can really win, right? Um, so my last question for you, I'm going to kind of go on the opposite end of that perspective and spectrum is, you know, when it comes to loyalty, what is the one or two things that companies should really stop doing?
yeah, so I think sort of chasing. The short version is I think there's a lot of vendors and a lot of the PR out there is around engagement. Like, I think people need to stop chasing engagement metrics and focus on business outcomes. And I think actually business outcomes is a harder one because you
Right.
have to have a like organization wide strategy. You have to like do a lot of hard work. It's not like a marketing function. It's like a
Correct.
business. It's a whole company function. And so I think the biggest thing they need to start doing is thinking about it more globally.
Yeah.
Um, and again, just in the space of that we're in, right? In terms of like the technology and the offers that we sell, um, it's less about the dashboards and all the fancy data. It's like what are the outcomes? Like how can we use this to improve the customer experience, right?
Yeah.
It which again might be we have to transform the way we operate. Okay, great. So that whole thing is very different than just installing products or services and just setting up rewards programs, right? That's sort of like a tactical view of the whole thing.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah,
I
no, it was
appreciate
great,
it as
Josh.
always.
Yeah, it's great fun.
Perfect.